Today's gospel got me excited because I've talked about this frequently, so it was fresh in my brain, and I wanted to read to you and kind of give you a lesson that I had learned. But it's basically from Matthew 5, starting and his teaching about retaliation, where he says, "You've heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, offer no resistance to one who is evil. When someone strikes you on your right cheek, turn the other one to him as well. And if anyone wants to go to law with you over your tunic, hand him your cloak as well." Now, this is the important one that I always want to talk about. Should anyone press you into service for 1 mile, go with him for 2 miles. Give to the one who asks of you, and do not turn your back on the one who wants to borrow. So, should anyone press you into service for 1 mile, go the extra mile and give him two. I once had a priest explain to me, and well, the whole church actually, something really important. And then I use this often with my standers and others. And I'd like to tell you what it meant. So back in the day, it is understood that the Romans, there was a law on the books that actually said that the Romans were allowed to make the Jews carry their suitcases or whatever it was that they had to for 1 mile. So if they found a Jew and they're like, do it, you have to. The Jew by law would have to carry it. Now, if this were you and someone says, "Here, carry my stuff," you'd be like, and then get to the end of that mile, like, "Here's your stuff, jerk." Right? I mean, however it was, imagine yourself in that situation. Someone looks at you, because really the Romans didn't look at the Jews like they're any great things, like, "Hey, babe, can you help me?" It's more like, "You lower scum, I am bigger than you. I can make you do this. I have power over you," right? So I want you to remember that word power. So what Jesus was referring to wasn't just like, if someone tells you to go a mile, go two. He was referring to that very specific law. But then he turns it around, like all of these. Take an eye, it's not an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. What I'm saying is, if they want your cloak, give them your coat. They want your purse, here. You know what? You stole that? Have this sandwich too, because you look like you might be hungry. I mean, just these crazy things. But when he said, carry him the extra mile, brilliant. God is God, right? Only God can be that brilliant. So this is basically it. I want you to think in terms of power. I want you to think in terms of the enemies in your life. Because the next verse there was talking about anyone can love a friend, but do you love your enemies? I tell you, love your enemies. But I'll put this in real people terms like this. Someone tells you to carry your stuff for 1 mile and you do it and you just throw it down. Screw you, jerk. I'm out of here. Who wins? Who wins, right? Who's leaving going, "Ha ha, I got the best of you"? The Roman who pushed him into service. But what Jesus said is, go the extra mile. Because now I want you to watch. What he is showing is a shift in power position. You get to the end of the mile, you've just carried these suitcases or whatever. I always say suitcases, briefcases, whatever you imagine in your mind. That's what I imagine. You carry him for the mile. The Roman expects the Jew to throw him down and be like, and yet he goes, no, I'll take him for you further. Now the Roman's kind of like, what the heck's going on here, right? And with joy, with love and whatever, the Jew goes the extra mile and he carries them. Now, this, if you were a fast walker, you're thinking 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes, a half hour if you're slow. An extra 20 minutes to a half hour for that person to be thinking, like, what's going on here? You get to the end of that second mile. You hand him his things and said, "God bless you. You have a good day." Who's got the power now? Who's in control? The power shifts to the one who went the extra mile. Because see, when our enemies, I always say to my standers, never respond to hatred and anger with hatred and anger. Because if someone says, "You're a jerk," and I'm like, "Well, you're a jerk too," well, then they can easily bite onto that. They always have something to say. "Yeah, well, you did this, you did that." But if they say or do something, "You're a jerk," and it's like, "Well, I love you." How the heck do you respond to that? Fine, I'm never going to love you back. Who holds the power? holds the power? The one who said the nasty thing, or the one who said, but I love you? Or the one who said nothing at all? Or the one who didn't respond negatively, but only positively? Carrying those suitcases the extra mile says, you don't have control over me. I'm going to voluntarily do this. Even if it's something that the world looks at as not good, again, this is going, I'm going to do this, which we all know as being Christ-like, because, God would do that. What we're doing is taking hatred and anger and changing it to love and serving and humility. And it changes heads because people watch. Not only was that Roman soldier watching, but all the people around were like, what's he doing? What's she doing? When my standers come to me and say, my jerk husband, well, technically I have to say this very honestly, my standards never say that. They say my husband, my wife hurt me. Worse yet, they'll say something like the OW hurt me, OM, the other woman, other man. When the OW texts you like, well, your husband and I are going out to the movies, or, things like that, or they'll send pictures, you know what I'm talking about, the covert things that the other person does, because really they know that they're in a bad position. They know that they're sleeping with someone else's spouse, and they know that they shouldn't be. They know you're in the right, but it's what they try to do to show you, aha, I got him, you don't. They want you to respond like, you nasty person, that's my husband, and you should know, because they can respond to that. They can clench their teeth into your anger. But when you do nothing but send love back, your estranged spouse, separated spouse, divorced spouse, in the eyes of the world, send you an ugly text message. You're this, you're that, and then you better have the kids ready at 6. I'm going to be there. And either you give them silence, or not only you're like, I'll have the kids ready at 6. You disregard all the negative stuff. I teach this. Disregard the negative stuff and just respond to the one question, even if inside it made you see that first. Then when they come to get the kids, you send the kids out with the brownies. Mom made this for you. They'd have to get out of the car, throw them at you. But usually here it is. Even if it came through the kids, even if it came through you, I just treated you like garbage. And they don't have to admit that out loud, but they know. And you made my favorite brownies for me. You sent a birthday card for me in the kids' backpack when you sent them to my house. That's what Jesus was talking about in that gospel today. That's what he meant. Don't respond in the ways of the world. Respond as Christ would respond. Going the extra mile, when you hear that from now on, I want you to think about this. Going the extra mile is your way of taking power back. And it's not about, I want to have power over you, but it's the power of love. You're taking that back, saying your hatred and anger won't win me. I have Christ in me. I'm following Christ's laws, Christ's rules. I will win you back. And even if I don't, I'm going to be Christ-like because it pleases God. And the peace that settles over you, knowing you couldn't control me. I voluntarily carried your stuff for 2 miles. I voluntarily made you those brownies. I voluntarily had a mass set for you. I voluntarily gave the kids, I don't know, what's coming to mind is something for your OW, because they knew the OM was sick. Here, I know that dad's girlfriend is sick. Take this medicine because you know it always works. Why would your wife send a medicine over for me? See, they may think ulterior things, but deep down they're like, abuse is about power and control, but when the power you're trying to say is power over myself, power over my behaviors, power over my actions, and nothing you can say or do, even if it's ugly, will control me. It changes minds and it changes hearts. The goal is to get them to heaven. Imagine what you can do if you put today's gospel into true practice. Imagine. We can change the world if we follow the gospel. And it's never just as literal as you think. When you read it, go find out. Go do your research. What did this mean 2,000 years ago? And dig deeper. But just plain old applying it to today, always go the extra mile, not because you're mandated, because then you are in the power position showing the love of Christ, and that's what wins hearts, minds, and souls back to the kingdom. Your spouse may never come back. That friend who robbed you, ripped you off, we don't know what'll happen, but if you love them with these going the extra mile responses, that's what's going to win them back. That's what's going to potentially get that soul in heaven. Isn't that amazing? I love this stuff. So I'm sitting in church today and I hear this. I was like, I gotta go home and do a video. I gotta talk about this. So I hope you get it. Like, I mean, it's like, this stuff is so exciting. I want to be like Jesus. I want to do what's unexpected. I want to love, and I want to love my enemies, because the very next line after that is love of enemies. You've heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your heavenly Father. There's more. But you may be a child of your heavenly Father. If they persecute you, it gives you such a great opportunity. So that's it. Post below. Let me know how you have gone the extra mile, or perhaps how now you're going to, because you haven't in the past. You can use this not just with your spouse who's left you, but with a coworker that's ugly towards you, or with an estranged family member, or any place where someone is perceived an enemy. It works because Christ said so. I love you guys. I just want to get to heaven one day, and I want to look around and I want to see you there too. And I want you to say, one of those videos made a difference in my life. I want to know that when people are in heaven, that something I did or said got them there. And hopefully you're one of them. God bless you. Have a blessed week. I look forward to seeing you soon. Remember, live your life sunny side up.